Hey guys, welcome to my first unofficial Excel recitation video. Right now I'm in week 6 looking at the very last practice problem, bills, and I just want to show you guys how I went about solving this problem using Excel. And so I'm going to assume you guys have already read this problem. Scrolling down, here's the data that was provided to us. And down here it says regress the amount of manager involvement and project ID against productivity levels using project ID as a class variable. Okay, so I took this data and I threw it into Excel. What we're going to do now is we're going to prep the data so that we can run a regression with it. We have 3 categories here, project 1, 2, and 3. And so we're going to take the number of categories, which is 3, and subtract 1. And that is the number of columns we're going to need to create. So we're going to need to create 2 columns. First, I'm just going to copy this data over just so we can keep the original data intact. Let's auto-fit these. And something I recommend is whenever you have data that goes off the screen like this, I'm going to recommend you go to the View tab, go to Freeze Panes, Freeze Top Row. That way when you scroll down, like the headers, they'll stay up there. Okay, so we're going to insert a column here, and we're going to rename these Project 1 and Project 2. Okay, so we'll keep all the ones here. We're going to put some binary numbers in here, and we'll put 0 for all these. For project 2, let's put all zeros here. And where project 1 ends, we're going to put the ones here. We're going to do this all the way down. And I'm just eyeballing the numbers. So let's see, when that ends, 3 begins. Okay, and so for 3, we're going to have zeros in both columns. Okay, so now we're ready to run the regression. We're going to go to the Data tab, Data Analysis, Regression, okay. Okay, so for the Y range, something I recommend, we're going to include the header, the label. So column K, and then for the X range, we're going to include those 3 columns. Once again, the labels. We're going to check the labels because we have labels there and click OK. And so the reason we put the labels in there is because if you look down here, it tells us what our variables are. If we were not to put the labels there, if the labels weren't there, these would say, like manager involvement, it would say, I think, like variable x1, variable x2, variable x3. It's just not clear. And so so be sure and do that. Also, the p-values, I just don't like how these numbers look. I'm going to go up to the Home tab, comma style, and then we'll bring out these numbers a bit. Okay, that's better. And okay, so yeah, we have the coefficients here for each of these numbers. And now just looking at like the questions that were asked for us, I'm actually just going to focus on this one, number 3. We'll just copy this over, bring this over here, put this over there so we can see that. And then let me just, copy this down. And I think if I drag this, it should, project 3. Okay, cool. Okay, so for part 3 of this question, it says you want to predict the productivity levels for a big holiday shipment next week. You know the amount of manager involvement will be 0.80. Okay, and so in the practice problem, really it just asked us to find the amount for project 3, but we're just going to find the amount for all 3 projects. So for this very first project, we're going to go equals the intercept plus manager involvement times 0.8 plus the coefficient for project 1, and that gives us 1.64. And really, I never use parentheses, but if you feel like you need to use parentheses, we can do that too. And but really it just, really it just returns the same number. And yeah, I just prefer to, yeah, just use it without parentheses. Okay, so project 2, we're going to go the intercept again, plus manager involvement times 0.8, and now plus the project 2 coefficient. It gives us 1.50. So for project 3, what are we going to do? We're going to go to the intercept plus manager involvement times 0.8, and that's it. So it gives us 1.29. Now, some of you may be scratching your head thinking, okay, like for project 1 and 2, we added the coefficient. How come we didn't do that for project 3? And really, it's going to make more sense if I just show you. Yeah, if I just run this regression again. So first, actually, let's relabel this tab project 1 and 2. Come back here to data. And so I have this table already prepped for us. And this time, project 1, it's not going to be it's going to be represented here by the zeros in both columns. So project 3 now, we have the 1s down here for project 3. Project 2 is going to stay the same. The 1s are going to be right here. And like I said, project 1 now, it's going to have zeros. It's going to be represented by zeros in both columns. So now, if we were to run this regression, we're just going to change the inputs. Let's move this box over. Okay, so once again, we'll include the labels. X range. Come over here, include these. The labels box, it's checked. We'll just push OK. Let's auto-fit this. And we will call this project 2 and 3. Okay, so let's bring over this. Just bear with me for a minute. And then we'll bring over this also, just so we have that. Okay, so just looking at these coefficients, if you look at the manager involvement, now I'm just toggling back and forth between these two tabs. So the manager involvement, 0.95, and also on the regression we just ran, it's also 0.95. Nothing changed there. But if you look at the intercept, this has changed. It's 0.52 here, and it's 0.87 here. Project 2 is negative. Project 2 here is positive. And so these are just some things you should notice. And really, now if we come back here and we go project 1, so to get the amount for project 1, we're going to go intercept plus manager involvement times 0.8, enter. That's it, 1.64. So remember, this time around, project 1 was represented with the zeros in both of these columns. And here we didn't add a coefficient. We just added the intercept plus the manager involvement times 0.8, and we got 1.64. Going back to the original tab, that's the exact same answer that we got here. So project 2, same thing, intercept plus manager involvement times 0.8, plus that. Once again, 1.50 and 1.50 also right here. And so really what changed is just like our starting point, and then the coefficients here, they adjust like accordingly. And so just for completion, for project 3, we'll do the intercept plus manager involvement times 0.8 plus, and this time project 3 does have a coefficient. It's going to be a negative 0.35, and that gives us 1.29. So these numbers are the exact same. So really nothing changed there. The only thing that changed was which, which variables we showed here with the 1s and zeros.